Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second ever community call for K6 release updates, news, and discussions so that everyone can have an opportunity to talk to us, see what's up, what's new, and see us argue and discuss about these releases. So, for the
There's going
ones
to be
that do know,
arguments.
we were already having interesting discussions in a moment. But first, introductions. So, for the ones that do not know, I mean, you saw me the last time. For the newcomers, I am Leandro Melendez, K6 DevRel. Happy to be here, and I'll be hosting this show. Shall we call
There
it a
you
show?
go.
Okay.
It's
With
a show.
me, my co-host, Paul. What's up, Paul?
Hey, how's it going? Hola, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is.
Awesome day, everyone. Paul, you are as well a DevRel here at K6 with us.
Correct.
And sharing extensions knowledge.
Yes.
Next on the list, without any specific order, just because it's right to me in the screen, we have our amigo Mijail. Hello, Mijail, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
Super excited to be
easy.
here, I can tell.
Yeah.
Whee! Come on, we need.
I'm here again.
Uh-oh, this is might be a quick session.
And last but not least, we have our amigo Mostafa Moradian.
Hello. Yes.
Hello, amigo Mostafa. You're getting popular in these events and the media.
You know,
being in the news and all that, getting to be famous.
Trying, you know.
Yeah. Well, lots of famous people here, willing and super happy, excited, and I don't know, might get a coffee for Mijail or something. We're all prepared. Some music, or I don't know. I'll play next time Macarena and stuff, so that we all start.
Well, maybe we should have had the volume a little bit higher on the intro music with the alpine horn.
Yeah, that's going to be fixed
lower.
Yeah.
So on today's community call, we're going to be discussing a little bit over the only single, just one release, version 0.38 for the OSS K6 tool, where we have a lot of changes and updates and things happening that were pretty exciting, pretty awesome, and a few cherries on top here and there, but we will quickly go over them in a moment. So what do we have to start off today with? One of the main things that were commented in the release notes were these new AWS JSLib libraries. So who would like to talk a little bit about them? Because I have to say I understood how some of these things start to work, but I'm not playing it dumb. I generally need some introduction of what happened, or what did you guys do? What does that mean?
Yeah, I guess Theo didn't want to come on. I think he worked on that, didn't he?
Yeah.
So anyone understands those changes? Want to talk a little bit about it? I see Mijail already smiling.
I feel like this is one of those questions where like you ask it, but like you know very well who is actually going to have to talk about it. But yeah, this isn't really like a change in K6 itself. Actually, it is just a JavaScript library that we developed over time. It actually started very, very long time ago. I think like maybe at this point it will be close to 3 years, but maybe not that much, when we had to do like a bunch of changes to the K6 crypto API that were basically there made so like you can do some crypto operations that were specifically used by the Amazon Web Services version for signing algorithm. But I currently can't remember what the exact thing that needed to be added, but like I did add it, and then like I basically copy pasted the code that was from the AWS documentation, like how they actually build it in Java, like, and I just wrote it with K6. And for that, I did a like very small proof of concept that like you can use it with S3. I think S3 was the one thing that like a lot of people did actually care about. And at first, it was just like downloading files from S3, which is the one place in the whole AWS API where they have a different thing that they sign. Like for everything else, the actual signature is in a header, but specifically for the AWS, for the S3, like getting a file, it was in the URL, which is because like you have to like give just the URL in somebody to be able to click it and download the file from S3. And yeah, and that's when it started. And from then on, like we have had over the years many times people have asked for additional features, and we have added here and there a little bit. And yeah, I think it has been like in a PR for the jslib.k6.io for I don't know, like some months, like probably 10, and it was finally finished by Theo, who picked it up and basically polished it and added a bunch of things additionally, tested it, because that was actually one of the problems that I was having, was that unfortunately AWS doesn't have a test server to test against their API. So like you literally need to do like real requests against their real API, which means that I have to now set up, for example, an S3 bucket with like some credentials, test it, and if I wanted to run this, for example, in a CI, that probably isn't really a good idea for an open source project. So yeah.
One question: have you tried the mocks? Because like in Python, you can use mocked libraries and then.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the problems that AWS has this thing where all the different APIs have been added over the years by different people, different teams, and like if you go look at them, not everything is consistent between APIs. So in the one API, they want like these 3 headers to be in the signature that you need to sign with the actual API keys that you have. In some of the others, they're not required. I don't think that anywhere there is a problem to like sign everything, which is I think what we actually ended up doing, because like it turned out to be just the easier version of everything, instead of like, yeah, like technically the API takes like these 20 headers and it only wants like these 3 to be signed, but it's actually easier to like just put all the headers in the signature instead of like just knowing which API needs what, which is basically, as far as I know, what the AWS SDK knows, but like it would be really hard to like port. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, I was going to just
I
throw
think
out
the current
there.
tests are basically testing that if you have this key and you make this request, the signature will be that, which is like enough, because like hopefully if it works in the one of the cases, it's going to work correctly in all of the other cases. And like we have checked that like for this key, this is the actual thing that is required. Like this is the signature that needs to be in the end, basically. Because anything else turned out to not work. There was like a mock server actually for AWS, but it turned out that the mock server, which did actually return really nice results, wasn't actually checking if your signature is correct, which is fine for a mock server if like what you care about is like testing logic and you just need like something that will act as S3. But yeah.
And it's very, I don't know, all these differences and ways to manage security and being able to integrate, and for 10 months. So this is something that was kind of already needed for what I can understand.
Yeah, some people have used it before. I'm pretty sure that one of I think it currently supports only S3 and Secrets Manager, if I remember correctly. I don't think that anything else was added. And like the Secrets Manager was basically added by me for a client probably a year and a half ago, when we decided like maybe we should like move this to the jslib.k6.io, and like they literally needed like I think only one API code to work. So I was like, let's just write the code for your one API code, which is like 10 lines, and like everything else, it doesn't really matter at this point because like we're just solving a problem for somebody. But we have linked to this a lot over the years, and there have been people who have managed to use it without any problems, but there are definitely things that needed to be fixed. And
Do you know, is there
But-
like any plans to have a peer library for things like for GCP as well as Azure? I don't know what their object storage name is offhand. I can't think of what their S3 equivalent is, but just kind of curious.
if it's going to be a JSLib, there is literally no problems. Just I don't remember anyone actually requesting that. So we haven't worked on it one way or another. So but at least in principle, there are no problems to have like a JavaScript library that just does this and runs on K6.
It's and especially since many of the users are starting to kind of jump on AWS's wagon and having lots of needs there. That's why I think maybe a good addition. But just speaking of additions, probably that's a bad segue. So if everyone wants, or anyone that is watching wants to add yourselves to this call and be placed, where would it be? Here in the corner, or maybe next to one of our corners or squares, you are very welcome to send us a note in the chat asking like, hey, can I come in? Can I call you in? This is a community call. That is the point, that you can come and contribute, ask your questions, say hello, say hi. Hey, Mihail, I'm your fan. Yay. And everyone will be...
That's the whole point of this. Yeah.
Exactly. You could become a YouTube star.
Yeah.
Of course.
And we will make sure to play with these green screens and do some fun. No, but in all seriousness, just send us a note in the chat. Send a comment wherever you're watching this. Post a comment. Let us know that you want to ask, and our friendly Deborah Paul will get in touch with you and share the link so that you can join us. But understanding that not everyone is very camera excited or friendly, we understand it. If you also want to post your questions, give some comments. The chat is open as well. Send your comments, send your questions, and we will be very happy to answer them, discuss them, and talk around them. This is a community call. We welcome the community, and we are super happy to collaborate, talk, say hi, or say, hey, where is my update? Why are there many fixes? Shh, well, no. So moving on with the details of this release, that I wanted to ask a little bit, that there are so many things that happened, but there was one that caught my attention from the previous one. I remember that there were some changes on how the thresholds are being evaluated. There were some movements so that they are now evaluated in Go. And I remember that some of these happened on last release. What is added up, or what is new on this release on those changes on the thresholds evaluation pre-run? Do you know?
Is this a question about me again?
Of course.
Of course, yes.
I'm going to get
The
some
expert,
form of stuff
you know?
in a moment. Give me a second.
Yeah. So basically, the previous release was more or less checking that whatever you have written as a threshold looks at all as a threshold. So the parsing was more or less you would have one of the words that we expect that you would use, like count, rate. You have a p in brackets 95 for like a percentile, then like either less than, more than, equal, and so on and so forth, and then a number on the right side. And that was more or less all the checks that were added at that point. And the new release basically now also checks that, like, one, the threshold that you have actually, not the threshold, the metric that you are defining the threshold on does actually exist, because this has been a problem previously where like users would define a threshold on a metric, and then like it turned out that like they either mistyped it or like something like this, and like that has been a problem in the past. And also it wouldn't then check that like I don't remember what term we were using for the words that are rate, percentiles, and so, like, yeah, I forget what the actual term that we use in the documentation is. But like, if you're having a metric that's a counter and you define a threshold on it, there are no percentiles on counters. So like, if you try to use it, it's going to not work. But like, you wouldn't know that. And now instead of it just silently not working, it's actually going to give you an error when you run it.
Okay.
Yeah, that will avoid just starting the mid-test, say like, hey, this didn't work in the end. Sorry for all the time lost while trying to evaluate or going to the threshold. So, but I wasn't very sure of what were the additions. So it seems like it keeps being polished, right? Keeps being improved.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be like the last round for now, because all the other things that we have discussed about thresholds require way more actual investment and are even less or are a lot less important for most users. Like, they're somewhat related, for example, with the backend and how it works in K6 Cloud, but like even for it, I would argue most of those changes aren't all that interesting. So yeah, they'll probably wait for a while.
So, and that's a very good point, that this also impacts on the backend. You start a test over there in the cloud, and probably you don't catch it in time. Is it that in line, Mustafa? Now I know that there are some things that were going on in the backend, and lots of work was happening there, right?
Oh, you're muted.
Yes. Thank you for quickly noticing it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not muted.
Yes. So yeah, the previous cycle. I don't know if you've seen the K6 news. I've mostly talked about how we increased our reliability and stability of our backend. So the whole team, like we have two backend teams focusing on different parts of the system, and the whole people in the two teams were working on increasing the reliability and stability of the whole backend team. So we've done a lot of things like monitoring almost everything we have, all our infrastructure, all our apps, all our databases, everything, and try to see and find weak points, try to, fix bugs like long-standing tech debts, bugs and stuff, and also we've had incident management before. We kind of improved the whole process, and also we introduced the new on duty cycles. So every backend developer is assigned to do these 1 week of keeping an eye on everything happening in our logs, and monitoring systems and stuff, and to be the first line of defense of answering people's questions when they pop up in any channel that relates to backend, and then relay those questions to the specific people who can solve the issue, or bring them in and try to be the middleman in all this.
And,
Yes.
and quick question on that: when something pops up, is that a general practice, or was it a priority of the cycle?
Could you be more specific? Because
Yeah, when you were describing that there's a defect or an issue and someone reports it, was it a focus on this cycle to solve all those reports, or generally on a daily basis you are?
yeah, so it's multiple fold. So I would say there are some reports by the customers which we tried to fix, and there were issues we would see in our own system, because we have a metric, a baseline metric for how many tests can fail, and we always strive to be like below that metric. So like, I think it's 1%. So if 1% of all tests fail, you would see that the system is not stable. We have to do something about it. So we would list all the metrics that time out, all the metrics that are like aborted by system or aborted by anything that is like suspicious, and we would go over them, try to see where they failed, and try to come up with a solution and to fix them. So two sources of information: the customer and us, and monitoring system, and then a few of our backlog of a lot of issues. Not a lot of issues, but few issues.
Don't play it. No, I know that. It's not bad.
Yeah, so a lot of issues. So we fixed those, and hopefully we increased the stability. I mean, we are seeing it in our monitoring systems. We have less failed tests. We have system is more stable as far as we can see.
Yeah, pretty much one of the key elements of, and I was saying something. It's really cool that you are kind of performance testing and tuning our performance testing and tuning tool.
Exactly, dogfooding is very important in our job. So I think K6 is being used in a few different places, and we are increasingly use it like in different places to test and see if things go wrong, if the performance of things go down, if we like merge something, or these sorts of things.
And there were even some conversations that we were using K6 to test K6, and even to test Grafana, and internally leverage our own tools and self-improve.
I think we did with Mimir. I haven't been in that project, but I know that K6 is used to test Mimir, and Mimir could process like one billion metrics. So
it's like Carl Sagan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Billions and billions of metrics instead of tiny molecules. But yeah, and hey, and I'm just going to throw this out there because Nicole would be upset with me if I didn't. But Marco, and I'm going to butcher the name, Prakucci, I think, from the Mimir team on. We just had him on K6 Office Hours just maybe 2 weeks ago. It was our last episode, I believe. Yes. But yeah, so that was really interesting how they did the Mimir project did use K6 and just to test that. Yeah, the 1 billion active series, so which equates to a lot more data than just 1 billion actually. So that's
that
understates it.
Spoiler alert. There are some other things that Grafana is leveraging K6 or planning to leverage it to improve the Grafana platform and vice versa. Because, here K6 is starting to leverage Grafana for watching some results and elements. So it's what was the song? The Cycle of Life?
The wonderful circle of life.
Oh, yes. So, keeping up with these changes and updates, there's one that I like a lot, and I had some personal pains with before, and I love that was addressed. The console methods. Whose idea was that? That's awesome. What about that? I think right here. No, that side. This guy is gonna know. It's not mirrored, so I don't
There he
know what
is. There he is.
there. Michael, I think you're muted or faking it. I don't know.
No technical issues. I was actually muted. But yeah. Do you talk about the console logs now?
We don't need the
Printing
stringify. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was probably Pepe from K6 who proposed it. I don't know. Like, it has been a long time in the actual backlog, I think.
Yeah, no,
As many things have been over the years. Yeah, the original issue is from Pepe.
Okay. That's pretty awesome because, so many times, so many objects that when I was doing
Undefined.
some of the exercises and all that, it was a pain to, this thing is an object. I have to see how, I want to see if I'm, for debugging, it was kind of a pain. And now it's just better. Just put it there, speed it in the console, and you will be able to see what is happening inside of your object easily, straightforward, humanely understandable, I believe. And
I think the same function can be used for printing in Goja debugger that we developed, Mihail, for the print instruction or exec. I don't know.
You could,
Just-
but yeah.
Just
I don't
saying.
think that was really a problem with the debugger at the last time we were working on it. But yeah, you can use JSON stringify.
Yeah, just a nice way
some
of
stuff.
printing stuff. Yes.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, the Goja is the underlying, I guess, library or project, I guess, that we're using to interpret the JavaScript code from Go.
People are asking. It says unknown flag. What is unknown flag? Yeah.
I think that's on the output, isn't it? If you don't, or previously on the console.log, if you were sending out an object.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
No, yeah, I was thinking it was like undefined or something like that, but yeah, but definitely not as pretty as the JSON output of the object. So
yeah, I think that's a pretty cool addition and fix. But moving on with some of them, people watching, if you want us to discuss one of the releases, I'm going through the ones that I think are interesting or are going to be the most useful. I mean, this console output
they're all
one
interesting.
was beautiful for me. I don't know. I as many may know, I do a lot of mistakes, and especially when I'm doing some automations, I have to go and check it, and that eases a lot some of those pains of like, oh, why isn't this cookie being accepted, or why is this I don't know, correlation not working, and trying to expel it and seeing it was always like, oh, I need to stringify it now. Beautiful. It just comes out.
Yes.
So when I saw it, I was so excited. Sorry. Anyone excited about another one of the updates? I mean, I don't want to take all the stage and.
I particularly liked the -- quiet flag. It is recently added. I was using actually I don't know if you know about the XK6 Kafka project. I'm actively working on
The
it.
champion of the project.
Yes, the very first, I think, the second, I would say, after the test project with the extensions and plugins. Anyhow, so I'm actively developing it, and I use K6 in the CI to test integration, end to end of the code, the script, and the Kafka running in the background to see how it's working. So this console UI of K6, progress bar and stuff being printed a lot of times because of the
Yeah.
text not refreshing stuff somehow. So it's not an ASCII command line, it's just text. And refreshing it like causes it to print a lot of, progress bars and, percentages and stuff. But this quiet flag, surprisingly, was very helpful.
It's funny because it's part of the execution of when you run a K6 script, you will see all this output and the funny because it's kind of ASCII K6 mountain, the one that
Yes.
you can see here. But at times it can be a little bit annoying or too much in the way. So there's something
Especially
for
in the
everyone.
CI, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah,
Especially for
you
the
don't need
CI.
that much output. You don't need that much, and ends up being like garbage. So
Yeah.
it's
You
awesome
just
that
want to see the metrics and that the test is
Mhm.
successful and just the
just
return
show me
value.
the money. I mean, the data.
No.
No, and it's similar to another update. I see some comments, but quickly before we lose this one, the output right now it's so colorful. I mean, I like it. Being partially colorblind is something like, oh, shiny stuff. I understand it better. But some also may not need or like that. There's another feature on this release where you can make it monochromatic or easier too, and make it a little bit more straightforward. So some of those changes where it's not everything about optimization, but also to look good and be efficient, right? So now moving into some of the comments, I'm seeing Ayan Baduri. I hope I'm saying your name right. We always butcher the names, but he says that's trying to remote write logs to Grafana Cloud. By default, the logs are coming in JSON, hence applied log format raw, but it's throwing an unknown flag. That's what he was referring to with it. So I see.
Yeah, we got a little discussion going on there, so that may be helpful there.
So probably using the flag. Mikhail, why don't you?
Yeah, I answered. Basically, the release note for version 0.38 say that there is now not underscore dash walk dash format, but it previously was just without the middle dash, and both should be supported now. Basically, the change was made because some of our other walk related COI flags were basically with dash between the locks, except this one, which probably whoever wrote it whenever they did just missed it. And yeah, we now support both for probably forever.
Yeah, and that was just since 37, right? Or is that 38?
I think it's in 38, if I remember.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I remember seeing some words about it, but yeah, I wasn't sure if it was this release or the previous. Okay.
Yeah, there are two very nice additions, I think, in this release about Ssl and Tls protocols. So I'm seeing you can now dump SSL keys to NSS format, and then you can use that file in Wireshark to capture traffic and see what's going on, like between K6 and your system on the test, which is a nice thing, I would say. So thanks, Mikhail, if you developed it. I should think you did.
I did
Much appreciated.
do that.
Yeah. Yes, you did a very good job. Thank you. And also, I see that Gabriel Santos, if I correctly pronounced his name or her name, I think it's his. But anyhow, they added support for encrypted TLS private keys. So now you can add passwords to your encrypted
Yeah.
keys.
A lot
And
of
that's
work
a good
around
thing.
security and
Yeah.
implementations, which, if I may spoiler again, is going to be kind of a focus, right? We're going to be focusing as well on security and privacy, all these type of things around the
Mainly
K6.
security.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Very
Wanna spoil something, Mustafa?
Oh, yes.
You seem excited about it.
Yeah, well, so since a few months ago, I kind of become the security lead / champion at K6. So I'm together with Thomas Owen, the CISO of Grafana, and Chris Doyle. I'm helping pen test, do secure code review and do all sorts of things I can to help, um, um, increase the present things so that the engineers are more aware of security things, security issues, requirements, threat modeling, all sorts of different things, supply chain risk management and stuff. And also at the same time do some hands-on testing to find bugs and create issues so that backend developers and others fix them. This is actually what I did. I think 4 or 5 months ago, I created a huge report of like 30-ish bugs, and yeah, the backend developers spent a complete cycle, so 2 months as complete months as fixing security issues. So that's that.
We are
I'm gonna
so
continue.
happy to hear that.
And yes, so I'm continuing this and trying different things, experimenting and recently I bumped into like there's a requirement from some customers to try to address supply chain risks. So that includes generating files, SBOMs or software bill of materials,
Yeah.
so that they know which dependencies are in which parts of their system and their vendors' systems. How so that when a vulnerability is published, they can easily track that. Okay, so this dependency that is vulnerable is present in these vendors' machines, and now we can just notify them like immediately so that they mitigate the risk and send a patch, fix the issue and stuff.
Wow.
So yes, so I also contributed to the Cyclone DX Python project, so I fixed the requirements parser. Yes, and then I'm using that to generate SBOM. So if you go to a project like Django Salmon 2 Auth on the Grafana, um, we are using this for this open source project for SAML SSO in our backend, and I generate SBOMs for that.
Yeah.
So here and there, tiny little pieces, contributions and stuff, and experimentations to see how we can uh, include security in our whole engineering life
Yeah.
cycle.
That's like with the S bombs. That's definitely something that I, could have used previously in my past life prior to K6. Back when that whole log4j issue was going on.
Oh yeah,
That's a widespread module, and then just to be able to go to have this listing, all these bill of material, to be able to find out, okay, who all is possibly affected by this,
yeah,
this
exactly.
vulnerability. So yeah,
It's
that's
always a
definitely
hassle when a change, an update, a fix, or something comes up. And you're like, oh, where else do I have this? Or
Yeah, exactly. Where in the pipeline or the supply chain in our whole vendor dependencies do we have such a dependency or outdated,
yeah,
unpatched,
yeah,
whatever, and then we can pinpoint that and either upgrade it or change the whole thing or do something about it, basically, or accept the risk. Basically, at some point you cannot change something, so you should accept the risk and try to have
or
some
be
sort
aware
of,
or prepared. I mean, that
yes,
something
be
may
aware,
come up
yeah,
from that,
be
and it's
vigilant
like
of
nothing I can do, but keep my word up on that one, right?
yeah, I would add some alert to our like monitoring system to alert us if that happens. Like, for example,
Mhm.
the least you can do.
Well, now that
Super.
Mihail's back at his keyboard, it's I guess we should let him know that thank you for volunteering to do all those open security issues that Mustafa's added. So
I did hear everything he said, so like,
Oh.
I definitely didn't volunteer.
Wireless
Oh.
phones, yeah.
Yeah, those are wireless. There's like no.
So, adding a little bit on the releases and something that I learned as well. I mean, it's a constant learning for me and understanding so many of the components of K6 OSS and K6 Cloud. There's some news aside from OSS that fell in this cycle, and probably Mustafa will go in line. I know that there are news with the private load zones.
Okay, yes. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I
So
just understood what is up with the private load zones, but what are these news and more or less what are
okay.
they doing?
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't say I'm the expert in that area, but I have some information, some knowledge about it. So the private load zone is the way so that you can provide your own infrastructure and account on AWS to us, and then we will deploy our load generators and stuff on your account, and then hence the private load zones, so private load generators, and then from there those load generators, so you don't need to open up your infrastructure to the outside. Rather, we will deploy our services in your like infrastructure, and then you will only send us metrics and data that is needed for monitoring and insights, and only those are specific for the test runs. So that's, as far as I know, is the private load zones. Also, we also so the K6 operator is now able to do the job if you are on Kubernetes.
Yep.
So, spoiler alert.
Yay.
Coming soon to a cluster near you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So with this new, I think, release of K6 operator, I think it was last week or 2 weeks
2 weeks
ago.
ago, right?
2 weeks ago, yes. So now you can have test runs, and then process thresholds and whatnot, have insights on the K6 cloud. So apart from just sending the metrics, you can now have insights and thresholds and everything be processed on our platform, but you use your own Kubernetes cluster to generate load and do what
Yeah,
you want to do.
you don't worry that much about opening up, or because
Exactly.
that was a pain point in the past and could become a bottleneck on many times that we had to do a load test, but the load was generated from external sources, or
Exactly.
and that little path to insert all the load became the bottleneck. All sorts of issues. Why not having it in your own private environment? So sweet and
There
easy.
you go.
Mhm. Yeah, it's an awesome implementation and solution for many of the applications and solutions that are like, oh no, I cannot put this on a public
Yeah.
port
Hmm.
or anything. No, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
There's some company policies somewhere
Right.
Mhm.
restricting this kind of accesses to outside. So,
And could be
Yeah.
even by law or regulation. So it's
oh yeah, that is also possible.
mhm. Yeah, public medical records, or no, private, not public.
Yeah. Like
uh,
figure in the US, yeah, there's the HIPAA
GDPR
policies for
issues, all
the
sorts of different compliance
privacy.
issues. Yeah,
Yeah.
could be.
this
Yes.
this cannot be public by
Yeah.
any
Yep.
reason, not even a load test, even if we won't tell anyone. Can you come up with a solution?
Yeah,
And we did.
Yeah,
Go on.
another spoiler. I
Oh
can
my
spoil.
God.
Yes, there are a
This
lot
summer is
of
going to be
things.
entertaining.
Yeah, so we are introducing a feature in this cycle to have something we internally call secure test runs, but it's not about security, rather privacy and anonymization. So while your test is running, the data will be um, deleted in near real time. So not the metrics, but the data of the test. So what data we need to run the test, to run the load generators and stuff on the K6 cloud, we will gradually start removing those data. Yes, one of our customers requested this, or a
So
few of
that's
our customers.
okay. So that's just for the SaaS service, right?
Yes,
The
only
K6
K6
Cloud
Cloud.
itself. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that we
yes.
won't retain any data and we'll.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Anonymization on demand, kind of like,
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, because we even, I would say, don't want to be holding that hot potato situation. No, it's your
Yeah.
data. You.
Yeah, exactly. We just needed to just run the test. That's it. We don't need it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just a side question on that, with the private load zones and everything. So some customers, they want to have a custom K6 version. So obviously we have the extensions ecosystem.
Exactly.
So now that doesn't make it, with private load zones, that doesn't make it right away that they can have their own customized K6. That just means that they're going to be running in their own infrastructure right now. But I know that that's one of our goals ultimately, is to make it easier for people to run extended or customized K6 in the cloud infrastructure.
I think so, yes. I think in collaboration with the customer, it is possible now with the private load zone. So
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I know that there's like some rules around it where it has to be I don't know. I think you have to be at a certain spend level to be able to use a customized
yeah, that's
binary,
also,
I
the
think.
requirement. So
Because there's some setup, I guess, that Mustafa has to do.
no, no. But yeah, so it is possible. It has some requirements. So you should spend some threshold, have some threshold of spending with us, so that we provide you with this like customized solution for your private load zones. But yeah, you're basically free to use whatever you want if you pay. So
Yeah. So basically, yeah. If anybody that's watching this is interested, they need, whether it's a different output of the metrics or different,
exactly. Any extension
things to
basically
test. Yeah.
that is a little bit stable.
Yeah. So just contact your, your customer support and see about what it would take.
Exactly.
All right. So there are so many other things that in a conversation before starting the show, Paul and I were going over some of the release notes, the announcements, and there's something that caught my attention. And Paul, we were even like wondering how to pronounce what is it about, or K6 Chai.js?
Yes.
Chai.js.
Chai.js. So what's up with it, Mustafa? You jumped right away. I'm
No,
guessing.
no. Mihail is the expert here, so yes.
Mhm.
No.
Not on
He refuses
however
to
that is pronounced.
accept.
No, not on the pronunciation. I mean, Chai.js. That sounds pretty straightforward.
Like a chai latte.
Yeah, I think it's a
I'm
part of
pretty sure that's like the actual.
chai means tea, basically. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's funny when someone asks a chai tea, like for trying to translate,
yeah,
it's
it's,
a
it's
tea.
TT. How come?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a set of assertions for what I'm saying. Anyone knows better about it?
Yeah, it's a BDD TDD framework which works with, as far as I know, with the browser and Node and stuff. And now it's the port of it on K6, if I'm like correctly on the right track of explaining this. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, so that should make your syntax in your scripts to test things or assert that conditions are met or whatever from the JavaScript. Makes it a lot more fluid, or I guess fluent, and
readable.
Yeah, friendlier. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps with testing. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, getting ready, and I think the point of these ones are write up what are the requirements or pass-fail criterias, but you can almost literally write them up and they'll be good to go. So
Exactly.
so beware, there's Chai.js, K6 Chai.js ready and available, so that everyone needing to implement this type of assertions in advance or right away can have them at hand. Because I don't know, it's something really important, and also I would say measuring or getting on the side of SRE, having this type of assertions. I think it's also important to know, hey, is my site up? Is my site prompting an error? Those type of assertions is starting to go slow down when you have a K6 script continuously running and checking, hopefully for those things, not only like pinging and it's back, it's good, out, but there are so many other things that we may want to continuously be analyzing or checking, or even for release or PRs, all sorts of things that we can do with it. It's a great addition. So we're getting close to the end of this call. And I'm going to go a little bit in order where to point here. I keep like, oh my God, where is it? Here to this guy, Mihail. What are you most excited about, or the changes, or what do you think is more crucial or impactful, or that you're like, dude, this is awesome? What would you point out, or what would you like to?
From the current release notes?
Or do you have another interesting thing? I'm happy to.
You have another release note?
Oh,
More spoilers coming up next summer.
I know what I want to hear about.
Okay, Paul has a question.
Oh, yep. Okay, yeah, So now, because it involves Mihail, so this is perfect, and we kind of segued into extensions, but you didn't take the hint. No, I'm kidding. But So Mihail, you did a lot of work on the WebSocket support with the extensions. Now we had somewhat of a support for WebSockets in core OSS, but kind of. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did? And I know you used the event loops in that, so that's the, I don't know, me being on the extension side of things, that's the stuff I want to hear about. So I had to wait patiently here. So please.
Yeah. I guess this is part of the release notes. I mean, it is in the release notes. In the previous release cycle, I did some work on writing an extension to implement the actual WebSocket API that browsers implement, which is actually a specification by some organization that I currently can't remember which organization exactly does this specification, but yeah, which unlike the current K6 open source one does actually is actually asynchronous, which meant that we couldn't do it before we actually get event loops. And it is now public. It is somewhat finished, let's say. I would expect that it's functional. I also expect that there are definitely some bugs that I haven't got. And it is not fully compatible with the specification in most cases, because the specification is not very, but there are a lot of places in the specifications where, for security reasons, they don't want to return you some data or another, or an error or something like this, or they want you to do something in a very specific way, and like not actually error out or error out in a specific manner, just because in the usual place where the specification is used, it's in a browser that's running on your computer, and then you have a WebSocket that can access anything on the local network. So there are additional restrictions that we totally ignore in for our use case. That's totally not an issue. And there are also things that we just don't support. For example, there is it's the WOP object. I don't think is part of the ECMAScript specification. I think it's part of the Web API specification, but it's basically like a binary object that has a type or like a content type. Yes, it has like what it actually is, whether or not it's a JSON, an application, or like a PDF file, something like this. We don't support this in the K6, so that, for example, also isn't supported. I think I have a list on the actual repository with a bunch of stuff that aren't supported and like probably won't be supported because it makes very little sense in our case, basically.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that some of that a limit from the Goja library, or?
Mostly it's a limit because like we haven't implemented, for example, BOPs,
Okay.
and have other ways to actually represent them. I'm not really even certain all that much whether or not BOPs are currently like recommended, let's say, for usage, or whether or not they're just like there because like it's what people came up 10 years ago, and as always, like on the web, everything needs to be backwards compatible, so they cannot break them. So like they still work, so people can still use them. But yeah, probably at one point when we get to it, we will likely have a discussion on whether or not we are going to support them and either add them or not, I guess.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Lots of updates and things coming. And speaking of updates and things, because we are getting near the end of today's show, I want to do a quick few mentions that things have to be said. It's important, and that
Must
we
be
announce
said.
them. And there were some hot fixes during this release. We have to
What?
come out, and there were some things that. But on the bright side, whenever those things happens, we are up to it. We go attack it and chase them like a police car chase scene. So we had a few one. The first one had to do with the threshold submetric selectors that with some symbols they would fail. That was fixed. That's okay. I'm going to try to say who reported it. The handle is a little bit complicated. EFDK Nittle Frank. If you're listening, you know who you are. Thank you very much for the contribution and for detecting this. And seems like it wasn't only that. There were some other contributions on hotfix.2 because there were a few. Which those thresholds over submetrics would fail, I think, as well if there was an NAN. So that was fixed as well. We have that, and we have number 3, last one. Yes, hope no more will happen. Because already some over thresholds over already defined submetrics also were resulting in some errors. We're having some issues. So that was fixed. All good. Any comments around that? Because there are announcements. So we quickly went through them. It's out there in the world. There were hot fixes, but everything's fine. If anyone detects any more issues, don't wait, report them, point them out. We're super happy to have these things. And I mean, shameful hot fixes, but things are fixed. I think that's the most important thing. And speaking of other announcements, I noticed, where was it, that Rose Landroche, La Roche, again, sorry that I butchered the name, but Rose, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that one. Or Rose? No. Was a little bit worried that we wouldn't mention something that usually is important to Nicole, but we are hiring at K6. Yay!
We are.
Let me share with everyone that we have some open positions.
Maybe zoom in a little bit.
Oh wow, it's a little bit small, right? Some.
Yes.
Massive. So we have some openings for a Golang developer, a senior front end. Oh, what's up with my reading today? Senior front end engineer for the K6 Cloud App, a software integration engineer for Golang and K6 extensions, and a solution architect for load testing. If you are or you know anyone that may fit any of these positions, we will be super happy to talk to you and to start getting information and start getting everyone on board. So, other announcements quickly, because we are already over for a minute. Don't forget, Grafanacon is coming soon. Be aware, join us. I think it's the first week of June, if I remember well. And I believe it is first or second week of June. Fact check.
I'm gonna say I think it's the second week.
Second week.
Because
Okay.
I will be Nicole and I will be presenting on Friday,
Nice.
June 17th at 1800 Central European time. So I don't know.
Okay.
That's 11 a.m. for me. Central US. So
Yeah,
the math
take a
can
look.
be hard.
Take a look on the dates, hours. I know, I mean, personally, today it was a big hustle with global time zones and I just checked. June 13th to 17th. Beware, be prepared, register if you haven't. We will be super happy to see you. And Paul and Nicole will be super happy to present their talk to you. Okay, so with that, I don't want to hold anyone for too much longer. Michael, Paul, and Mustafa, guys, thank you very much for joining us. And anyone watching, anyone who sent questions and comments, we're super thankful. Thank you very much. Have an awesome weekend. Awesome rest of the week. It's Friday. Yay. So take care, everyone. Have a good one. Happy Friday. And see you on the next community call after next release finishes. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Adios.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yes.